Buffalo Bills, you're on the clock. Welcome back to our 2025 Team Mock Draft Series. This time we're talking Buffalo Bills. We are in the thick of free agency. We are in week one of the major free agent signings, so we'll look at what they've done so far. I'll talk about some team needs as I see them currently, and then we'll get to the crescendo mock draft, every single one of their picks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Let's get to it. So normally this portion of the video, I talk through current cap situation, guys that are impending free agents and all that good stuff, but it's already started. Cap situations are changing by the minute as these players sign contracts. So we're going to skip over that for the moment just because I don't think the numbers are necessarily accurate on some of these sites yet with some of these contracts that have just happened, especially, the big signing of like Joey Bosa. So I do want to take a look at it and shout out to BuffaloRumblings.com. They put together a great little article on the different free agent news and trades and trackers and things like that. So far, they've signed Josh Palmer, who was former Chargers receiver, Michael Heck from the Rams. They got Darrington Evans back, a depth running back that could help kind of add some veteran stability to that running back room with James Cook. They grabbed Joey Bosa, who is arguably one of the best edge rushers in the league. I know some people have some differing views on him, but I think it's a really good signing for them. Larry Ogunjobi got a one-year deal coming over from Pittsburgh, and then Derek Forrest is on a one-year deal, a nice depth safety piece. They also re-signed some of their guys, right? So they re-signed interior, they got Alex Anderson, Shane Buechele, they got a tight end in Davidson, they got Van DeMark, Reed Ferguson, Ty Johnson, Reggie Gilliam, and DeMar Hamlin they brought back as well. So they've made quite a few moves, and based on what I saw as their team needs, which I want to touch on just a little bit before we look at their depth chart, they touched on a lot of what I think is where they need to go as a team. It's a lot of depth with potential rotational startable ability. I think they need a D-line depth, DL depth, both interior and on the outside. I think they did both of those. I think they did a good job with both of those. I still think they need some corner help. I think they probably need some tight end depth. They grabbed running back depth in Darrington Evans. They probably could potentially add another, but we'll see. I think they've got three solid backs now. Wide receiver depth, but they grabbed Josh Palmer, so he's probably going to step in and be your number three, I would predict. They need some O-line depth, but they re-signed some guys. And then I think linebacker is going to be the one that could be kind of the sneaky earlier pick for them, just because I think they really do need kind of an influx of some talent, some younger talent. I know Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard are both younger guys with potential and have definitely shown potential, but I think Milano's definitely getting up there in age. We've seen some injury issues at times. Spector's been not spectacular, but definitely a guy who I think is definitely roster worthy, but I think linebacker might be one of the more interesting needs, and cornerback. When you look at this team situation as it stands, they're pretty solid at running back. They're obviously got an elite quarterback with depth there. That's just fine. Then a wide receiver. I think 1, 2, and 3 are really strong, right? I think Shakir, Coleman, and Palmer, I think are really nice startable pieces. I think Samuel and Hamler are nice depth. I wouldn't mind seeing another guy maybe late coming in as a younger depth piece with some potential. Tight ends are fine. They've got easily two very solid startable tight ends that would start on any roster right now, and they've got two of them. And then at running or at their offensive line, I think they're strong as in their starters, and I think they continue to need depth, right? I think Cedric Van Pran is a guy that I like long term, and then DeMark they seem to like, and because they brought back, but I think they could use maybe another guy there depending on how the board falls. And then when you look on the defensive side, I would love to see them grab another edge rusher, just because you can never have too many edge rushers. As a Lions guy, we got killed this year because our edge rushers, our top ones, got hurt, and then we had trouble with our depth. I will look at edge rusher. I would look at interior for this defense as well. And then linebacker and cornerback, like I said, I think their corners need some talent influx. I think Benford's and Johnson are really intriguing. I think Lewis has some potential as well, but I think it would not surprise me if you saw them target linebacker and corner in the day 1, day 2 range. Let's get over to the mock draft. And I'm going to start out this mock by saying we're not doing any trades, albeit trades will get offered on PFF Simulator. That just is inevitable. But I do not do trades in these. I try to stay at the pick and make the best choice available to help build a roster that can contend for a championship, which great thing with Buffalo is they already can do that. So I want to hear your guys' comments below. If you don't like a pick, if you do like a pick, who you would take. Always feed that in there. I love that feedback. I love to have those conversations with you in the chat. On the clock at pick 30, I think you are probably looking at one of two ways. I think we're looking defense for sure, and I think we're looking either linebacker or cornerback. Like I said, I think those are the two most pressing needs. On the board here, we have plenty of options that could fill either of those, especially on the edge side of things. You know, Jalen Walker, Nick Scorton. I think Demetrius Knight is a guy that's been moving up boards. Landon Jackson is a guy that I really like. You know, these are all guys that you see me draft in some of our drafts. So I'm just going to look a little bit further down and see if there's anybody else that I think could fit into that first round range. I think JT Tuimalu is going under the radar, and Jack Sawyer. I think both those edge rushers are early day 2, late day 1 type players. Jared Ivey, I think, is a day 2 guy for sure. You know, it's kind of, some people are going to go, oh, well, you got to go the best player available. And everybody's got a different best player available this time of year. You know, we're a month and change away from the draft. I'm going to go with my favorite player at this point, and I think that's got to be Jalen Walker, linebacker from Georgia. I think he brings a lot of what this team needs to the table. He's a sideline-to-sideline guy. He's athletic. He's kind of a do-it-all type player. So I would love to see him in Buffalo's defense. I think you could see him rushing off the edge. I think you could see him drop back. He can do everything that they need him doing more. And now on to pick 56. This team has a lot of picks to play with, so I think them not making major splashes and just getting some solid pieces in free agency and Bosa and Palmer and some of them, I think opens them up to being able to do a lot in the draft. This would be a team that I would expect to move around a lot, package picks to get a player that they are looking for. It's hard not to think that they would be one of those teams that would just move up and down the board as needed. And I'm going to make it quick and easy. We're going Azurie Thomas, the DB from Florida State, big, 6'2", physical, fast, press man corner, kind of can do it all, and I think would fit perfectly in this defense. I think it's kind of a no-brainer for a team like Buffalo to grab one of these early day 2 corners because there's just such a talented group in this draft class. Back on the clock at pick 62, we're going to look on the offensive side of the ball, and we're going to get you some wide receiver depth. I really like Jalen Royals from Utah State. He's a track star, blazing fast basketball profile type player at right around 6 foot. I think he kind of can fit in. A lot of people project him as an outside receiver, but I think you could kind of use him in a variety of roles, similar to Shakir. I think he could be a really nice depth piece with upside. Some may think this may be a little early to draft a receiver, but I think when you have those different types of chess pieces that you can use, I think it really makes that offense just that much more dynamic. So why not use one of these picks here and grab you one of them? Back on the clock at pick 108, I think we're going to grab ourselves an edge rusher here. I'm a big fan of Ashton Gillott. I think he's a very explosive player off the edge who can come in and do that specific thing they need, which is attack the quarterback. I think you can never have enough guys that can get after the quarterback. And, a guy who made Bruce Feldman's freak list, I think he brings a lot of talent to the team and adds just another nice depth piece that can rotate in and get you some strong play in those times where they need a quarterback sack. You can allow him to develop underneath Bosa and Rousseau. I think he's just a really nice piece to add, especially kind of in these middle rounds where we're at here in round 4 or 5. Would be a great spot to land him if you could. Back on the clock at pick 131, I think this is the point where we're going to pull the trigger and grab ourselves some offensive line depth. Johnny Cornelius from Oregon is a tackle that I really like. He's really good in the run game. Definitely needs some improvement in the pass game, but he's got a strong foundation as a blocker. I think he's a very strong guy who could step in as a depth piece with time to develop, and getting him here in the 4th round, I think makes a lot of sense for a team that's looking for just a hard-working kind of the blue-collar type offensive lineman that teams really like those types of guys. He comes in, he's a hard worker, and I think he makes your team better in the long term and could step in a pinch if need be. Played at a good school, played at a high level at times. I think definitely has some traits that we like moving forward. Back on the clock at pick 171, and we're going to grab ourselves a depth running back with a ton of upside. I love Mitchell Tutton from Virginia Tech. Apologize if I butchered your name a little bit. This guy's explosive. He could be one of those every down backs, but he has the ability to be your kind of out of the backfield pass catcher. The one thing that he needs to work on is that pass protection. I think with time, especially not having to be your RB1, he could come in and really add some depth with big upside. This guy's extremely explosive, and he brings a lot to the table, and I think would be a fun piece in Buffalo. Back on the clock at pick 175, we're going to double dip in the cornerback room, and we're going to grab ourselves Denzel Burke from Ohio State. Definitely a fluid athlete, strong, physical, Better in zone than man at the moment, but I think he could develop quite a bit in a defense that does a good job developing. Period. I mean, it's such a good defense, and the coaching staff is so strong that I think it really does bring a lot to the table for them. So grabbing a guy like this late that you can develop and be a depth piece for you that you could put in a few different spots, I think could be a really intriguing prospect for Buffalo. Back on the clock at pick 178, just like we double dipped at corner, we're going to do it at linebacker, but you've heard me talk about Stutzman, Higgins, Johnson, Mondin, I mean, even Shamar James. We're going to look at Kareem Reed from Utah, though, here. I think he gives me very much Matt Milano vibes when I watch this player. He's very smart. He's got a high football IQ when it comes to diagnosing and reacting to the play. Maybe built differently than your traditional linebacker, but that's not a bad thing. I think he may be a little undersized, but maybe not bad enough that a team won't look at him this late as a really smart developmental upside linebacker. And for a team like Buffalo that can utilize a lot of different body types and skill types in the linebacker room, I think he could fit what they're looking for, and getting him this late would be great for them. Back on the clock with pick 207, we are going to double dip in another position that I think could use some depth with upside, and that's center. We're going to go Jake Majors from Texas. This guy is an extremely smart. That's something that you'll hear me say about a lot of the players that I draft for Buffalo. These are really smart players. He diagnoses those defenses really quickly, really well. Played at a big program in Texas. He's got all the tools and traits to be successful, and I think you could use him really anywhere on that interior of that offensive line at either guard spots or center. I think he adds a lot of value, and I think he could be a guy that they could lean on in the future. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I got a lot of different players for this Buffalo Bills team. I know that I expect them to probably do some packaging of picks to move around in this draft if they find players that they want to go after. PFF, it seems like no matter what I do, they give me B grades. What did you guys do? What do you think? Who would you do differently? We'll talk to you again soon.